Folks, when we're talking about market-safe annuities, we're not talking about any one annuity. We're talking about a lot of different annuities.
It's a whole classification of annuities that basically protect your principal from market risk. So we all want the upside, but how about a neat deal where you don't have to have the downside?
No downside risk. And in some situations, folks, these annuities are going to be more geared towards income. Sometimes going to be more geared towards growth. What you want to look at with market-safe annuities is first common denominator, protects the principal. It can't go backwards unless you're spending it. And then does it meet your retirement objectives, your priorities?
Right. It's ultimately, when you've had retirement savings, it's really nothing more than kind of delayed spending. So you're going to have those dollars to spend, or your heirs will have them to spend.
Exactly.
So when we talk about spending, I guess we should talk about some of the advantages here of market
and there's some disadvantages too. So let's
balanced and fair. We're going to be balanced and fair today.
Let's start out. Let's take, like you're saying, let's take the advantages. Let's take them in a category, and then we'll pile the disadvantages on in the end. Kind of. All right. Okay. So you got to stay tuned for the disadvantages.
Are there income advantages with market-safe annuities?
Well, there's obviously that's probably the strength of annuities, at least the perception of annuities. Yes. And it's true. You can actually set up a pension-style income where you can never outlive your money, and that's a huge thing. A lot more weight should go to that than what people give it, because our life expectancies nowadays just continue to stretch out there. Sure. And the trend is that the insurance companies and the annuity companies are basing their benefits and that on a life expectancy that continues to go up. So they're kind of lagging behind.
Well, they're using old information to project basically forward population.
Yes.
And so we all know that healthcare is improving in the sense, and we're going to live longer. And wouldn't it be nice to have a contractually guaranteed lifetime income?
Well, I think that's the key. Once you start to understand what a contractually guaranteed income is, that it is your own personal pension that you've set up, and obviously you want to deal with some high-rated carriers and insurers.
You want to make sure the company is going to be there as long as you are, especially since we know you're going to live a good long time.
One thing a lot of folks are worried about is inflation.
Well, and this is where structuring, and this is part of the portfolio, I think. You want to use an annuity either that has the portfolio has a strategy to combat inflation, or there's actually annuities out there that also can use hedges against inflation, whether it be the CPI index or.
And one of the things that we use in terminology is a market safe portfolio or a market safe annuity portfolio, because your whole portfolio isn't necessarily going to be market safe, or you don't necessarily want it to be market safe.
You want some money at risk.
You want some risk. Sure, because it's a lot easier to take some risk when you know that you've got all the basics covered. Your income is covered, and
you'll really appreciate having a market safe annuity when you see some of your risk dollars go down a little bit. You'll
think that was a genius that I set up a market safe retirement with annuities. So
we're looking at the risk. If you've got a market safe or annuity, what about growth? Or do we have growth advantages?
Well, sometimes you want to combine those together. Sometimes you want growth and you want income, but let's just take it on and stand on its own two feet. Some folks just want growth and they don't want to take risk.
Well, and so wouldn't it be nice to participate in some of the upsides of the economy and the gains in the markets,
which is what's
having to backslide at all?
Exactly.
Protect your principal.
And that's what this other generation of market-safe annuities does, is it gives you that market upside, not the full, but a limited market upside potential with no downside risk at all to your principal. And that's just huge if you're able to be satisfied with reasonable interest earnings, gains that are pulled out of the market. We're talking about, Eric, here, what we've seen and the studies have shown is exceeding the banks sometimes by 4 or 5 times what the banks are, maybe 10 times on today's money, what the banks are paying.
Well, and that's the key. You're going to beat the bank historically.
Yes.
Now, are we set to try to compete with what your broker will tell you is the 8% market return?
Eric, everybody makes 8% in the market, right?
So, in realistic, we know during periods of history there's been ups and there's downs. The nice thing when you're using a market safe annuity, there's only ups.
That's it. And we've seen times when market safe annuities have really done better than the stock market, but we never think that you should look for that or expect that.
Right.
Just be satisfied with, I mean, just to throw a number out there, historically, based on the Wharton study and some of the other studies that are out there, somewhere in that 4 to 6% range would maybe be realistic, and the 6% may be a little high, and the 4% might be a little low.
Yeah.
So,
and it's using an annuity that is basically geared towards what you're wanting to accomplish. There are annuities that do growth better, and there are annuities that do income better, and usually they're not both the same annuity.
Yes, you need to ladder them, use them for different portions of your portfolio. And we're going to step this up, try to move it along, because we've got a bunch of material to get in here.
So you want to look at the estate advantages,
I think
perhaps?
so, yes.
So if you look at somebody who's basically planning for the next generation,
right?
There are some advantages that market safe annuities have for passing dollars on.
A big one, Eric, is going around probate. So many folks think, how can I get this money to my kids? And they don't necessarily want to go out and set up a living trust, or maybe they've got a simple will, but they don't want that to go through probate. They want certain money to just be able to get right to their children or their heirs. And it goes right around probate, which is a huge advantage.
Right. And what we're talking about is taking the cash accumulation account value, whatever's left there, and it just goes right onto your beneficiaries.
Right. And another misconception about annuities in general.
The insurance company keeps all your money.
They're going to keep it all, and there's going to be nothing, but that's not true nowadays. There's a lot of exceptions to that. And
now, we can design it that way if you'd like, though.
The other thing is, folks, a lot of times you think in terms of that money going to your heirs, and it's still in the surrender period, and that your children will have to pay the penalty and the surrenders. In almost all cases now, when someone passes and their money goes on to the children, it all goes with no penalties and no surrenders. So the full cash account value goes on.
And you've got the ability, if it's in an IRA, to maintain that tax deferral aspect.
Right. If it's a traditional IRA, it's going to maintain tax deferral. And what's really cool is these Roth IRAs, and we've set a lot of those up, where it's tax-free to the next generation.
To the next generation, and that's
so
those are
huge.
So
now let's talk about liquidity.
The money. Show me the money.
How do I get to it?
That's right. So if you've got an annuity, are there some limitations? We've heard these surrender periods.
There are, but the first thing that let's throw out there is majority control. Let's explain that.
All right, so you've put your money in. 6 months later, I've changed my mind.
Well, you may have a bonus. The insurance company's going to want that bonus back.
They want their money back.
They're not going to give you free money without you leaving it there for some period of time.
Right.
But that then, as far as your actual principal, you may lose 10% of that,
and that's kind of a typical first-year penalty that we see out there.
But you're going to control 90% of your money, and if that annuity is properly designed, that annuity strategy, that retirement planning is done, that's a very, very rare exception that anyone would ever do something like that.
And I always laugh, 10% sounds like a big number, but if you compare it to a market participation,
oh my goodness,
to drop 10%,
they call that a correction, Eric. That's not a recession. That's not a crisis. That's a correction.
So you retain majority control. In other words, you can control the correction if you need.
That's right. So,
and then you have access to usually a portion of those dollars, which are penalty free.
Yes.
So you can get in and get a scoop of it out.
Right.
Usually about 10%.
10%. So. And then as far as an income stream, that's the beauty of the annuity. That's why you use the annuity in a lot of cases. When it's not just for growth, is you want that income. And so you've got liquidity, that income for life.
Right. Which is what everybody wants typically from a core annuity, is that you've got that lifetime income
or at
guarantee.
least that for Plan B.
Right. So, or you can structure it typically, you can annuitize it so that it pays out over 5 years or 10 years.
Yes.
Those flexibility and those options are typically there, and they're available with market-safe annuities.
Right. With market-safe annuities, there are some risk advantages. There's quite a few, actually, but let's hit on a few of them.
Well, I think the biggie there is no risk to principal. So
yeah, it is.
I think that's
and no gains. So it isn't just the money you put in, but any money that it's made along the way.
So I moved up, and I don't have to risk what I've already made.
No, you're going to gain it, and you're going to retain it.
Gain and retain. Yeah. That's kind of a catchy little slogan there.
One of the things that I like is bond risk off.
I don't like bond risk, so you can have it. I would like to not have any bond risk, and unfortunately, a lot of people, when you're constructing a risk-based portfolio, it's some in stocks, some in bonds.
Right, and the bonds are the safety portion of your portfolio.
Sure they are.
But not if you read the prospectus closely, anyway.
You might be. I'm not even going to suggest the possibility of a bond bubble, because that would be bad. But
and interest rates rising, pushing the bond yields down. This is what's so great about annuities, is you actually transfer that bond risk to a third party.
Right, and I like it in the sense you would transfer all the investment risk,
yes,
basically to the insurance company for a contractual guarantee.
Right. Right, exactly. And we've already touched a little bit on the longevity risk aspect, but again, I can't overstate that folks are living longer. It is very possible to run out of money in retirement.
Well, and I jokingly say that they could generate a pill that makes us live for another 50, 100 years.
Yes.
Well, guess what? You've got a contractual guarantee to pay you for that 50, 100 years.
Touché. You win.
So what a great deal to have that in place. So,
well, Eric, let's get to these disadvantages. I mean, some of them are kind of obvious, but let's just state them. Well, half a dozen of them here.
How long are the contract? You're committing yourself typically for a period that's going to have a surrender applied to your money if you had to go in and get it.
We've seen these surrenders anywhere from 5 years on the real low side to 15 to 20 years on the high side, but I would say that the average market-safe annuity out there is somewhere in that 10-year range.
Right around 10 years. So you are committing yourself to 10 years. Now, most retirement plans are usually much longer than that, but if I talk about that, it's no longer a disadvantage. So
that's true. That's true.
Limited liquidity. We've talked about majority control.
Yes.
Well, that means that you don't have 100%.
It's not like putting your money in a money market or in a bank savings account where you can just go down and pull it out anytime you want. But there's other reasons why you set it up long term.
Right. Now, the economy is going to get really heated up, and lots of people are going to be making lots and lots of money. Well, if that happens, you may not get to participate fully.
You're going to maybe give up some potential gains in trade-off for the security of the annuity.
So for the safety, you're trading, triple-digit gains. Yeah. You may only get double-digit gains.
You have to know. Yeah, right. You have to know that when you set up a annuity, that you are going to limit your upside potential.
Right, but no downside. But that's
not. You're getting into the advantages.
All right, we don't have FDIC insurance.
Right. And to some folks, that matters quite a bit. They like that bank security, and
they want the federal government back.
Have to get that bank earnings too.
That's right. They want the federal government's insurance protection. So, claims paying ability of the insurance company is the criteria typically for when you're selecting an insurance company. And how do you choose that? And you're looking at the ratings.
The higher rated companies are very important, and that is, you have to realize that is a certain risk that's taken.
Right, you're actually relying on that company to provide that guarantee.
Right. So, and
then the last one is probably the biggest thing we hear about when we talk about annuities, and that's that dirty little 3-letter word,
fees.
Fee. He made it a 4-letter word. Fees. So when we've got fees associated with annuities, it's typically you're paying for a benefit, like a lifetime income rider or a bonus, or there's usually something that you're paying.
You have to make sure that fee is relevant,
right?
That it fits your priorities, that it accomplishes your goals, But you also have to realize that that is maybe a disadvantage, and you have to compare that to other products that may have no fee, that type of a thing, to make sure that it's relevant.
Right. So you could have an expense that's taken out of your account to pay for those benefits.
Yes. Well, Eric, I feel like we've pretty fairly covered the advantages and the disadvantages, and I think that what we really want to say is that market-safe annuities can really set up, more importantly, a market-safe retirement.
Right.
And that it's a great way to really secure your retirement from market losses.